So it's April of their 2-year-old year. Wes, what are you sort of working on this time of the year?
But for right now, I mean, I really just try to stick to the basic fundamentals of, John Burgess, he told me one time, he said, you go to stop, you stop to draw, you draw to turn, you turn to go. You go to stop, you stop to draw, you draw to turn, you turn to go. And so anytime that I tell myself that on the daily basis, at some point, I'll get in a little spot where I'm getting too nitpicky about things that I don't like the feel of, and then I just tell myself, well, something that my father-in-law told me one time, and he said, Buster, that the importance that he saw in riding those horses outside was that, you could pick a windmill out down there and just ride to it and not be thinking about your horse. So he said, even though we're riding in the arena, and I do this a lot while I'm riding in here, like I'll just look out over the fence like I'm trying to ride over there to that water tower and just try to get my mind away from the horse and away from here.
Are you looking for a specific feel there, Wes?
Yeah, I'm wanting her to this mare's a little straighter feeling, which I don't mind. That's just her. She's always going to feel like that. But I'm just trying to get her to just to bring her nose right there and get a little softer right there, and her withers to stay up, and then her to get this hind leg out of the way. And Andrea Frappani come and rode some colts one day over here, and I was asking him about turning the horse around, and he said he tries to think about this. Right here, as I'm riding up to this flag, I'm just wanting her to get engaged, right off. And so, but I'm not going to beg her to be here. Like I'll start off like she looks off right there, and so I just go up there and let her look off and make that mistake, and then I just bring her back to it. And I'm very much trying to think about what I want my show horse to feel like, even at an early stage. Like I don't want to beg them to stay on this line. Like she's staying on the line good. As I get right here, she steps off right here. And so so this is something that, I don't know, it's been maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I was at the horse show there in Fort Worth. I was in the practice pen, and Gary Bellenfant, he was in there working a horse of his, and Gabby, his wife, she was up there, ready to turn back for him, and Gary Gonzalez and I were just sitting outside that pen 3, waiting our turn to go, and so Gary, he goes and cuts his first cow, walks up there, and that cow stands still, and he puts his hand down, and when he does, that cow's not going anywhere, just stands there, and he even puts his hand up for Gabby to stand still, and she's on like a 27-year-old gelded turnback horse of his that is not in any way going to move unless you make him, but he just told her to be real still, and so then he just sits there and stares the whole through that cow, and this cow don't move for a minute, and then finally the cow walks off over here, and Gary walks off over there, cow stops again, he gets real still with the cow and sits there, and by this time Gary Gonzalez and I are looking at each other kind of grinning like, we'd like to work sometime today, and so he quits that cow, goes in and cuts him another one, and does the exact same thing on another cow. And it would walk along there every so often, but for the most part just stand still, and he would just sit there and stare a hole through that cow. And he goes back and cuts his third cow. And when he drives that thing up there, he just gab a little nod. She just barely stepped towards that cow, and that cow got it on right there. And this horse could not have been more perfect. I mean, he run into that stop as pure, got just as still as he did when that cow was standing still, going at a fast speed. And that really just gave me the revelation that the importance of just going and just hitting the bottom of that stop and getting completely still with that cow and allowing the horse to have the thought, do you want to think away, or is there anything else on this earth that's more important to you right now than that cow? And I think that's what, I got to talk with Gab today actually about that, because I was just wondering about, because that's the sad thing is I never went to Gary and asked him about that, why did you do what you did? And so I got to talk to her about that today, and she just shared the importance, of doing that, and that he just wanted to allow those horses to think on their own and to really feel like it's their commitment to be there with that cow versus him doing something to them to make them be there. And it's just really allowing that horse to go through that thought process on their own. And the moment I will never forget is when he finished that third cow and that horse got it on, Gary, he just took his hat off and tipped it to Gary Gonzalez and I. and just kind of like, boys, that's how it's supposed to be done. And I think he was right. By what I saw that day, I think that is how it's supposed to be done.